This mute is going to get us, you know, that hi, how are you? And yes, congratulations. And then once you hear the official number Saturday, we're going to have to do something at least to celebrate just a bit. And then on to the next.
I know, goodness gracious. So we are officially live. Let me put this down. Everyone, I don't even know where to begin. I want to say thank you. Listen, my official thank yous are going to come out. I am still just recuperating from being on another continent. My family and I, and some UNLV students and some students from Nevada State College, we were on, where were we at? We were in Santiago, Chile, like we had said before. And we were having a cultural exchange with a school out in Chile. So I really haven't had a chance to celebrate the win. I really, I used to play soccer back in the day. So I'm the kind of person who, I play until the whistle blows. So to me, the election was close. In my opinion, it was close, y'all. Ryan Kissling and Lorena Bisciotti, they were kind of neck and neck. And then I just felt like these numbers were super duper close. Y'all, we have a lot of work to do for the general. That means we need people to come out. We need people to vote. If you've never voted before in your life, this is the time, because public education, we are on the brink of experiencing something bad, like something that we've never experienced before. We have, and I really, my even every time I bring up Moms for Liberty, I'm like, I cringe because they say that I'm making them famous. And I'm like, well, are you saying that I'm famous? Because that's what I'm trying to understand. But anywho, we have a lot at stake in education. And I'm talking about the school board race. I am running up against a Moms for Liberty in District E. So that area is Summerlin, Spring Valley, out towards Blue Diamond. And then Eileen Edie has a Moms for Liberty in her race, which is District B.
B.
B. So listen, that's potential. Like, that's two people that we have to keep off of this school board. And if you thought the school board was off the chain before, imagine our board with two people who don't believe in diversity, equity, or inclusion, who have this whole ideology around gender ideology, who want to ban books. There is an interview with Lorena, and she basically was saying in the interview that Black people, we should be happy and shouldn't want nothing else in life because Obama was elected president. That type of thinking and ideology is not who we need on the school board. I'm going to get the article for it, not the article, but the interview for you so that you can really understand the fight that we are in. It is absolutely important that we get all hands on deck. Now, I said this for the primary, all hands on deck. But some people may need me to break down what all hands on deck means. All hands on deck means that we need everybody. We need people to phone bank. We need you to knock on doors. We need you to write letters. We need you to share the word, tell your friends what is at stake, and to really educate our community about where we are in the school board. Our focus right now is our focus has to be Eileen, Tamika, and Kamilah. That is the focus for the school board. I'm telling you, with us three on the board, we will be able to shift just everything that we've known about education, the challenges that we've had. We will be able to shift the makeup of education in the Clark County School District. And when I think about that hope, that really just gives me a lot of excitement and hope. And for those who have not really followed education and you're not sure what's going on, I recommend that you listen to Danielle Ford, former trustee Danielle Ford. I have watched all of her videos, And I'm trying to understand, like, I really can't grasp my mind around some of the negativity that I hear around Trustee Danielle Ford. And I don't get it. But sometimes I know when you're a truth teller and you're a truth seeker and you're really trying to unravel things and understand that sometimes people don't, I don't know, maybe somebody else can help me, but understand why there's a little bit of animosity towards her. I mean, I've heard people say, oh, she's crazy. And I'm thinking, now she may not say things like you want her to say them, but this young lady is really giving you a breakdown of what we have been experiencing in public education more recently. And I endorse exactly, okay, not because she supported Jar. So I endorse exactly what she is saying. And I don't know if you want to come on and say that, or if you just want it to be Loretta just to kind of be there, but it is good to hear another perspective, because I never get like more detail on what the issue is. You can come on and please let me just let everybody know. Those of you who are in the Zoom, you are so welcome to chime in at any time. Those who are on Facebook Live, you can make sure that you can chat, ask questions. But this is really about us learning together and really just trying to understand and piece things together. Hold on 1 second. Let me put this down. Those who are on Facebook Live. Okay. Okay, let me put that on mute. Okay, sorry. Loretta, did you want to come on? You don't have to if you want to, but I would love to hear your perspective.
Kamilah, I've met you several times at Fertitta and adore you. And I think that you are a force of change that this district does need. I know that we're tired. Teachers are tired. We're tired of the same rhetoric coming out of the school board, particularly Jara, and all the runarounds. Not only is he given to teachers, but to building principals and support staff. And when you have a school board that says, oh, sure, anything you want, Jara, then I think that we're missing the impact that this is going to have on kids. And I'm not saying but the things that he does to teachers, and the things that he does to support staff, and the things that he has done with building principals will filter down and impact kids in an unfortunate way. And so when you talk about Danielle Ford, I don't know her. She might be a lovely lady, but I feel like she's one of the board members that sort of bandwagon and approved whatever Jar wanted to do. And I could be very wrong. And if I'm wrong, please correct me on this. But I would sure like to see a board that has some backbone and guts and stands up truly for the kids.
Yeah, you know what? I am so, you know what? My heart is just so excited that you're here today. Because it's really been important to me. Like when I started this Facebook Live, is I want to hear from our students. Now, I haven't done a good job of getting students to come on, and families and teachers and people who are working in schools, administrators. Tracy is the president of LAVAPSI. She's on the call. And in our work together, we've gotten, we get complaints often from teachers and administrators about things that are happening. So this really is a moment for us that we've been working for decades to really get good people on the board who want to listen to what's happening on the ground and then do what we need to do to create change. So I'm really happy that you're on because it's important that, our community understands what's happening in schools and being able to hear about the impact of, I'm definitely not a Jar fan. I know that he was very oppressive. But people need to really understand and hear the impact because they've been kind of, what is the word I'm looking for, Tracy? They've been kind of fooled. And, Tracy and I would be running to the mountaintops like you all. This is happening. People are being treated unfairly. Students are being treated unfairly. Parents are being treated unfairly. This stuff is really happening in our schools. And, sometimes people go, okay, no, that's not happening. You're just saying that. Like, no, this is real. So it's really important that we hear from, people who are in schools every day and who are impacted by the decisions of our leaders. Because right now we're really in a space where we have a lot of healing and a lot of cleaning house that we need to do to make sure that our schools are the best places that they need to be for our students, for the teachers, and for our support staff, and for our administrators, and all those who are surrounding our students. So thank you so much for being here today and, being on the call with us and sharing. I know, Tracy, I don't know if you wanted to share some things on in regards to Trustee Ford. So we've kind of been in a unique position because we've as much as possible with the trustees that we could build a relationship with, we've built a relationship with. Now, Tracy, you were here in the beginning when Danielle Ford was elected. I think I was kind of just getting back involved. So if you want to kind of talk a little bit about Danielle Ford and like how she's evolved until this day, I think that would be helpful.
Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us. So let me just go back to the Jara. Jara had people drinking the Jim Jones juice. So that's basically the easiest way to say all of this and to simplify it. We're in a cultic type of a setting in our environment and politics right now. So people need to be very mindful of who they're listening to, what spirits, what individuals that they're listening to and hearing from. So that's what was going on with Jara. Jara was a schmoozer. He was very charismatic, but he was also a liar. And so he made things very difficult and very challenging for the entire Las Vegas community, educational community as a whole. So, I wish him well wherever he is right now. But yes, he messed us up. There's a lot of healing that needs to take place. So with Danielle Ford was the child on the board. When you look at the dynamics of the Hispanic community, she was the rebellious child. And because of her ADHD and all, she had some slip ups here and there, but she was telling the truth. She was the truth seeker. And nobody wanted to really deal with her because they thought that she was just too cute and, flipping her hair. And, she would have her support animals with her and things of that nature. And now she's laying it all out, everything that she was saying while she was on the board, she's laying it out, on her podcast. So if any of you have an opportunity to hear her podcast, or if you have access to her to ask her very specific questions about everything that we've been talking about for over the last 5 years, about just Jara. We're not talking about the other superintendents because we knew what we were dealing with them. But Jara came in to Las Vegas, to Clark County, and he pimped us out. I had different names for him. So, that's just who I am. That's where I'm at with the man. If you have an issue with me having the different names, you can call me directly. So, but Danielle knows what she's talking about. And everything she has said on her podcast is the truth. And if you're trying to figure out what's going on behind the scenes that you have not, or that you're not aware of, because most people don't follow education or a lot of these political arenas the way that we do. So when we're saying that we know the matrix, that means we know what's going on internally. We know who the movers are. We know how they're shifting people around. So yes, you have to go to the board meetings to kind of see how they're navigating and who they're putting in what positions to counter off other people. So when we're saying we know what we're talking about, it's not that we just think that we're the beginning and end all. We're trying to navigate people so that we can all get on the same page, so that we can be unified, saying the same thing the same way at the same time, based on what's happening with our children. The bottom line is right now, the focus needs to be on students. The focus needs to be on teachers. The focus needs to be on principals, because a lot of these principals are acting out because they're regional people out because the head is acting out. So when you start at the top and you come down and you just look at this cycle of things that's happening, then you see what's happening in the schools. So if the superintendent is crazy, your regional people are crazy, then your principals are crazy, then the teachers become crazy, then that makes the kids be crazy. And we've got to get this stuff under some kind of control. We got to get wraparound services into all of these schools, and especially the most needed schools. And we just have to come together. So for me with Danielle's a person that if you have an opportunity to listen to her podcast, I would highly recommend that you go in and listen to the podcast. So I'm going to put myself back on mute. Anybody have questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Yeah, well, what I would like for us to do, Tracy, is really kind of talk about what's at stake here in this election. But I'm going to go back to Danielle, because when Danielle was elected, what's her year, 2018?
Somewhere in 2018, yes.
Okay, so I wasn't involved back in education at that time. I was kind of just transitioning. Where was I in 2018? I wasn't involved with CCSD yet because we had restarted LAVAPSI in like 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So Danielle came in new. She didn't know really education like that, so she was really learning. So I could imagine that she probably was kind of maybe going along, and then once she started asking questions and figuring things out, she started veering off. So we have a 4-3 split board, and the reason, and you're asking a very good question. The question that we have on the Zoom right now is, how did the school board approve the ridiculous raises he got for himself after getting fired and those that he gave his cabinet? These backdoor deals really send the wrong message. So you're right.
Absolutely.
So because we have a 4-3 split, the leaders of the board is Lola. Lola is the ringleader mastering the board. She has now, and this doesn't include the people on the outside who have a hand in the pie too, the former trustees.
Right.
These former trustees are still in the mix as well. So Lola's the mastermind. She kind of is guiding the ship, and she mentored Evelyn to kind of be the second person in charge. And then Katie came in and really, Katie campaigned on wanting to fire Jara, and then she flipped the script once she got on the board and went the opposite direction of what she campaigned on. Mm-hmm. So, and then Bustamante, the newest person who took Danielle's place, ended up being the 4 majority, which pretty much let Jara do whatever he wanted. So the minority vote was Trustees Cavazos. Who else was that? Guzman and Danielle before, or no, did I say Bustamante? So Bustamante. So then it ended up being Zamora. When Zamora came on, they ended up being in the minority. So because we have the 4 who are letting Jara do whatever they want, we're not going to see the change that we want to see because Jara is pretty much in charge. And what happened was the board did not approve raises. They didn't even know about it. Let me say this. The 3 in the minority most likely didn't know about it. At least Lola might have known about it, but it wasn't, it did not come to the board for a vote. This was just something that Jara did to retaliate because he was fired and then back. That was a retaliation move. Yep. Valerie, you want to say something?
I just want to say that Danielle, when I came in watching the vote and reading the information that they wanted to approve, Danielle was the one that let everybody know that when Jara came in, they essentially rewrote the evaluation rubric, especially so that he could pass. And that first evaluation that he went through, if he had gotten 1 point lower, he would have had a D minus, which is the lowest grade that you can make in college. And then who was it? Garcia, they voted to let him go. And then finally, and then after that happened, I think, was it Guzman that changed her mind, came back and changed her mind?
No,
That
that,
was
Letting
Cepeda.
go?
that was Trustee Cepeda.
Okay. Okay. So she was the one that came back and changed her vote. And I said, gee whiz, I wish I had known that you could have changed your vote, because there were a lot of things on there that got approved and they just steamrolled them through. And at the meetings, there is no opportunity really for you to discuss or question what they want done. And if you haven't made yourself aware before, you may leave still being unaware. But they paid for this woman to get $63 million to tell people about COVID, and she didn't. And some of the things that she told them that would really help the situation better for the children, the teachers, and the school, if they decided to follow them and they didn't want to include the schools that they didn't care about, they would say they're going to do this as a test. We're going to see if this will work. So they got to service the schools that they wanted to. But in one of the meetings I went to, I found out that during that time, they had schools and classrooms that not only didn't have good ventilation, but some of those vents were taped up for some reason. And that was never told to the general public. They used to pay teachers to increase the reading levels of the students. And when they saw that program working and the students' reading levels were coming up, for some reason that program just disappeared. So there were a lot of things that were working that had been done in the past, that when JAR came in, they were dismantled. And I can tell you that I was in the district, and at the time I was in the district, I went through some of the same things that these teachers are going through now. And I can tell you firsthand that a lot of these principals were not fair to the students. They treated the parents and the teachers as poorly as they do some of the students now. And people that have brought their concerns to LaBabsy are not just in the public schools. They are in some private schools and charter schools as well. So they're all around. In fact, some of the people that you're going to find in these charter schools and private schools are students that have been put out of Clark County School District public schools and cannot go back. But there's a lot that needs to be worked on, and I agree that when you treat your principals right and you tell them what you expect to have a good learning climate, and you tell your teachers and you expect them to do it, and you address your students' needs and treat them like human beings and like they really matter, and you make sure that they can learn, their behavior is going to be focused more on learning and adding to the learning climate than it will on misbehavior and violence. And there is a real connection. And if you don't know Kamilah, let me tell you that together we fought a lot of those battles because parents wrote letters to LaBabsy, and they were addressed in an amicable way. And not only did Kamilah tell why she thought the behavior was unwarranted or unfair by students' administrators, but she also gave educational doctrine that had been proven. And if we let this opportunity go, I'm telling you, you're losing the opportunity of a lifetime. And a lot of people don't recognize this, but our voices are on the record from the local to the state. Go back and check some of them. And, you know, if you check what passed, the same people passed the vote. If you check what didn't go past, the same people voted yes, and basically the same people voted no, and there was no way you could get anything through that those 4 people did not want to get through.
Right.
And it paid somebody $10 million to take up a playground. If you had given me 4 football teams and 3 soccer teams, I could have done it for you in a couple days, just for some sliced oranges and cool water. It's ridiculous, some of the stuff that they did. And when the school board changes, they're going to try to blame it on the trustees, but it was not all of the trustees. And sometimes they had stuff that was supposed to go on the docket, and they have the authority to pull it off that night and not explain what they're doing to the public. And then stay in there till way late into the night, 12, 1, and sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning, hoping that by the time they get ready to vote on it, nobody's there. But this is an opportunity everybody needs to take a look at right now. And you're looking at some of the people that fought this battle before. I fought it in the 60s. And everything that has failed on the East Coast is a part of what they're doing now to try to get these students not to learn. It's awful.
Thank you, Valerie. That's really good information. And Valerie, she was really influential with following the money and how much was being spent on different things during COVID. And she would always report to me like, they're spending 60 million on, what was the one? It was like some practice. They gave to the woman that was supposed to be telling the virologist or whatever that was supposed to be telling about parents. And one of the parents in the audience had to tell her about turning on the fan to help filter the air out. And you're talking about the time of contact. They would let those school board meetings go on way too long, because if you just stayed in there together with somebody, you could get the virus. They didn't even have to cough. All they had to do was breathe. And I can tell you that from being in there, I wish there had been a Lavapsi that I knew about at that time. And I was actually threatened not to tell the association anything else that happened at my school. So they thought they could mistreat me and get away with it. But I reported everything. And I was threatened. And they twisted things that I said. And they have, right now, they have kids that are in the same fight, and they will give them 2 totally different penalties. And one girl said at one point, the charges that they had against her on her record, that wasn't even her record. And if they thought that one child was white and one wasn't, even if they didn't check the records, if they thought one was, then they would give them different options of penalties. I had a lady call me and said, my child has been put out of school. They've gone to the detention school. Well, it went to detention school. They didn't have enough teachers. So they put them out of that school and gave them home learning.
And all of these children's parents are not able to help them at home. Some
Miss
of them
Valerie.
were dropouts. So
Miss
we
Valerie.
have to be there to fill those blanks. And I'm finished.
Thank
And I
you.
wish you well. I will continue to notify my contacts. If that's the best I can do, I can tell them.
Thank
Because
you, Miss
we
Valerie.
still have a,
Thank you so much for your support. Sarah?
Hi everybody. I just wanted to say a couple of things. So my fear, I guess it'd be my fear, is, they're talking about doing this nationwide search for a new school board person. And that's how we got, Yara, if I'm not mistaken. And so I'm wondering, a couple of things. What's going to be different this time? Number one. And number two, I don't know if anybody saw this in the paper it was maybe a week or two ago. Commissioner Kirkpatrick and the Clark County School District, or the Clark County Commission, had given CCSD $12 million to fight truancy. And their truancy numbers were up this year more than they were last year. So Commissioner Kirkpatrick, who I'm not always a fan of, but when she does good things, I'm going to say so. She asked the school board, like, where's the money? And she wants to see the audits. And the school board is not turning them over. This is under the new lady who took Yara's place, Martian Mitchell or Larson Mitchell or whatever her name is.
Brenda?
She's not turning over the items and the budget for what they did with this $12 million of our money, right, that went to schools to fight truancy. And so now what has to happen is Commissioner Kirkpatrick has to hire an attorney to sue the CCSD to get those records. And my whole thing is, at what point does it stop that we stop throwing our money away, right? Like, we stop throwing our money away at all these unnecessary things that at the end of the day, there's no reason a county commissioner who has oversight of our money, and it was our money from their budget that they took from human services and gave it to the school district. The school district needs to be accountable for that money.
Right.
And then the other thing is, why in God's name are we spending? And I mean, people are smarter than me in Nevada politics, but we are the biggest school district in the state. So somebody needs to explain to me why we are spending millions and millions and millions of dollars for a lobbyist to go to Carson City to lobby the legislature for money for our students. We should automatically just get the most money because we have the most students.
Yeah, so that's going to be the work with the legislature. That's the work, that the collaboration part that's going to need to happen between CCSD leadership and the legislature, of really advocating for funding education. Now, the reason that thank you, Assemblywoman Claire Thomas, love you. The reason that we're in the situation that we're in is because Superintendent Jara and Brendan Larson Mitchell are part of the Council of Great City Schools. Jara is on the board of that. And they're also, I don't know if Brenda's a part of this one, but Jara definitely was a part of Chiefs for Change. So what this organization does is they train superintendents, and then they put them in school districts to try to flip them around. And what they end up doing is they funnel taxpayer dollars, our taxpayer dollars, to the companies that they know, to the curriculum people that they know, the software people that they know. And that's why a lot of our money gets sent out. So right now, while we're in a battle, and this is why getting me, Tamika, and Eileen on the board is so important, because what I would like to do, my hope is that we disrupt that relationship. We have to disrupt that relationship, because what they're doing is they're really running the school district, because they're training their superintendents to lead in this way. The reason that Jar was able to do those ridiculous raises is because he made it so that the board didn't have any power. and he kind of was just doing what, not kind of, he was doing whatever he wanted.
Mhm.
And not only did they get that one raise, they actually got 2 raises, because when he resigned, he gave another raise. So we have to dismantle that relationship. And since I won the primary, I'm just going to say what I got to say. Some of the former trustees, the former ones, still have a hand in this, and they love the Council of Great City Schools. But I'm sorry, the Council of Great City Schools has put in, at least in my mouth, a bad taste. So I'm very skeptical of a superintendent that comes from a great council chief for change. I'm not saying that there's not a diamond in the rough who's going to buck against the system, but great Council of Great City Schools chief for change, who y'all sent to CCSD and who we selected for CCSD in the person of Jara, put a sour taste in our mouths. I don't trust it, because it's, education, we all know, is a $1 billion industry. So these corporations and these cohorts are looking for opportunities to hustle and bamboozle whatever school districts they can. And once they get that opportunity to find a board that's a 4-3 split, that's going to support the superintendent, then there goes our public education system. Listen, Tracy will tell you, Tracy, people right now are asking who's going to be on the board. What is the board makeup? Like, people who are looking for superintendent jobs, their first question is, who's on the board? What does the board look like? Is it a split board? Is it a unified board? Because they make decisions on where they're going to work based off of what the board looks like. So real talk, and this is coming to my mind now, the Clark County School District Board was dysfunctional from jump. So that was an opportunity for them to get one of their people in our district to disrupt and dismantle, because they knew we had a dysfunctional board. And voila, that's what we saw. We saw a person who resigned and left with some money. He didn't leave with the amount that originally was in the contract, because the $250,000 was like the last resort, but he got that. Imagine if it wasn't that, there was way more money that he actually was asking for than that. So y'all, we got took. We got took. And right now we're really in a place to, and Tracy, you chime in anytime. Mr. Rodney, welcome in. But we're really in a time to really flip this. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do to really just bring healing and transform all of this silliness that we've been through. And that's why it's been very disruptive in our school district, because one, there hasn't been leadership, and we've had an outside organization really kind of moving the needle and directing our path.
So
Yeah.
what's to stop this current sitting school board from finalizing a new superintendent, whether it be the crazy Larson Mitchell lady or someone else? Once, in their last, we know that people can do a lot of damage in the last 60 days after an election, right?
Yeah.
So what's to stop them when they still have the power from binding us to another contract that's going to cost us, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars? Because my whole thing is, we have students in play. Like when I was in college, our honors thesis, we did a fundraiser for Desert Pines High School for their marching band, because they were, that stuff keeps kids in school. And the first thing the school district cuts in their budget is the arts or football teams or things that actually keep students to have a grade point average so they can participate in the stuff that they enjoy, right? So we actually did a fundraiser where we were able to buy the whole marching band new instruments, right? Because they can't afford new instruments at that school. And that's my thing is, she says $60 million. My hair, I almost peed myself. It's just, it's absolutely it's ridiculous. And the fact that the superintendent should never have the power. That's why we have trustees that we elect that work for us, or they're supposed to. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. That's a great question, Sarah. And Tracy, I definitely want to hear you chiming in on this too. But Lola actually kind of went in on me a little bit when I one of my advocacy points was, hey, y'all don't need to be picking the superintendent because you didn't do a good job last time. And she was like, you can't tell sitting trustees what to do. So Lola's mad. Lola's mad. Lola's mad, 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 mad. So anywho, they are going to try to pick a superintendent because they're really scared right now that Evelyn's not going to be on the board. And because Evelyn's the only one who out of them who decided to run. So they're really nervous about her being on the board. But even if she is on the board and we get the people that we're saying are good on the board, we would still have a majority going in a better direction. But they are trying to pick the superintendent before the new trustees come. Tracy and I are definitely, we need to get into this process a little bit more, but we really were working in on my election. But we're gonna get some updates on what's happening. But they are trying to move forward with choosing a superintendent before the new board. So it would really take like the community.
The community is going to have to step up like they did before. It's going to be a community-wide effort to put pressure on this current board of trustees, meaning the business community because they know what's at stake, our legislators because they know what's at stake, and we know many of them do not want the current interim superintendent because she has the ties, still with Jara. Teachers have said, and administrators have said, if she stays on as the permanent superintendent, there's going to be another massive walkout. So I don't think we want to go through that because we're starting to build those pipelines up little by little right now. And then I just want to go back. For years, we have had a dysfunctional board of trustees. So this isn't anything new. The difference is Jara took it a step further with the assistance of Lola when she was the board president and changing a lot of the policy where he pretty much was running the board. He became their boss versus them being his boss. Because when he came in and he got rid of deans, he didn't get permission from those trustees to do that. He just did it, and he said he wanted to save money, but you're not saving money when you have all these admins at the top. Everybody's either assistant principal or student success, whatever they're calling themselves now, right? So he said he was trying to save money and they didn't have deans in Florida. Well, sir, we're not Florida. We had that fight going on about the deans. And then the other part about the deans is that's where you had a lot of diversity because that was the stepping stone for people going into administration. And most people that were deans would tell you they enjoyed that role more because it prepared them to be an assistant principal or to be a principal because there are a lot of steps and layers involved in all of that stuff. So now you have a whole workforce of people, for the most part, that don't have a clue as to what they're doing because they're the friend of a friend of somebody that's putting them in these roles because now they need to start filling some of these spaces with adult bodies. And, our hands are full across the board, guys. It's very complex. We try to keep up with everything that's going on. Every day is something different. There's so many fights that are on the front. Then we're fighting with people in the community, with other battles about who they want for the superintendent and who they don't want for the superintendent, who they want to fill Dr. Barton's role because now Dr. Barton's retired. Like we just have so many moving pieces that are going on that it becomes very difficult and very challenging to keep up and to let people know what is happening. And then when we're trying to explain it, they think we're just making this stuff up. And Lord knows I can't sit and just make this stuff up. I mean, there's just a lot of different things that are happening, even with the charter schools and the private schools. They're no better than CCSD. The difference is CCSD is larger and they're always in the media. So when parents are pulling their kids from CCSD and going to these other spaces, which is called choice schools, then you start to see some of the same policies and things of that nature in the charter and the private schools, because we've been having those conversations as well. So education right now is a hot mess, and we're going to just have to stand the course and make sure that we select the superintendent that we feel is going to best meet the needs of our community across the board. Even if they have to bring somebody from out of state, I will say this: if it's been a person, an individual who has worked here in this system under another superintendent, I would be open and willing to hear what that individual would have to say, based on them knowing how the system is already. Because that means they were here trying to clean things up, but then they didn't have the support that they needed to do their jobs, to be effective. And so then their hands became tied. And so they either were fired, let go, whatever the case may be. There are some great quality candidates, but the biggest question that comes up is who's on the board, who's going off the board, how is this going to look, how is this going to work? And right now, some of these people are waiting to see how this election is going to turn out in November before they make any decision. Because we don't know what's going to happen in November, because everybody's still, for the most part, playing patty cake with this stuff. And this is real. We only have one shot at this right now. I know we have some more Zoom calls that will be coming up, but we cannot take this election cycle lightly in November. People need to understand what Moms for Liberty is all about. And we need to also understand that there are some people sugarcoating their beliefs, their ideologies, and things of that nature. So people that have been Republicans that are now saying that they're Democrat, we really have to vet them and make sure that we know who we're dealing with. Because once they get on the board, that's 4 years unless something happens where they get offered a job or something like that, or God forbid something happens to them like that. But we have a lot at stake, folks. And at the end of the conversation, we need to be asking ourselves, what can we do, or how can we do better by our students? Students should always be first.
Well,
And I'm hoping that the trustees will have that mindset going into all of this.
And just to piggyback, Miss Tracy, off of what you said, I posted it in the chat in case anybody wants to know who the endorsements for the No Rhino Nevada, that's their new political action committee of the Forefront, ex-member of the Las Vegas Proud Boys. And all those people on there are Moms for Liberty candidates. So we, if you think this is just about banning the book, I'm queer for kindergartners, we have to really, really, really enlighten our community that this is who they're trying to put up, are the Michelle Fioris and the Jim Marchands and the Signa Chattas of the world, who all pied and bowed down to Michael McDonald and that whole regime, because he's the one, when he was losing footing in the NBGOP, he embraced the Proud Boys to become seats at their table at the state meeting, and and they've just reinvented themselves and shown up in a new light. But it's the same people. Nevada's really small, and if you know who to look for, it's easy to find. And so that's really part of how I think we beat these people, is we have got to link them for the independents and people, because they don't pay attention to education. But what people did in Nevada, any Republican that was elected ran outside of Michael McDonald. None of his prime candidates, whether it's Lombardo or Anthony or Andy that ran, they didn't run on McDonald's coattails, and anybody who ran at the statewide office under McDonald's coattails got annihilated in Clark County. But it's our job to make sure that we link the two for easily for people to follow along, because we are also living in the age of TikTok.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is also a national trend that's going on about the Republican Party, where there was a special on one of the news channels that I saw where they're not wearing the Ku Klux Klan's outfits anymore. Now they're just wide open at the Republican Party. And this is what they're saying. And they're definitely going after the Bidens and Vice President Kamala Harris. And I mean, some of the stuff that they've been showing nationally, what's going on, has really been an eye opener for some people. But once again, if folks are not paying attention and they just think all of this stuff is a joke and that is just going to slide by, or we're sitting here just making this up, no, this is real. This is more, in my mind, of the Jim Jones juice drinking category of what we have. This is very cultic what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's scary and it's sad. You know, in 2024, this is what we're dealing with. And then if this election doesn't go the way that we need it, brown and black and marginalized people gonna be fighting the fight that our ancestors done fought. And so people are not getting that concept. They're not linking this stuff together in that. And Donald Trump has been very clear. I take that man very serious at what he's saying, because he does not mix or mince his words. He wants to be a dictator on day one. Bottom line, he's trying to redo the Constitution. Whatever he's trying to do is not going to be good for the folks in America. And if people like to go out and protest and, you know, have freedom of choice to do whatever, look at what's going on in some of these other countries. They can't do that. The media is attacked. So we need to really just be putting this information out there where people can get it, and also just letting them know what President Biden has done in his term, because a lot of people don't understand that. I mean, even those of us that were following, it's hard for us to comprehend, well, what has he done? Well, you know, he capped the insulin for people that are diabetic. So I think it's at like $30, $35. That's huge for people that have that illness. You know, then there's the debt for student loan, things like that. People are not really taking all of that into consideration, but the economy is pretty good. I mean, here, not so much, but nationally, yes. So this is real, and the school boards are going in that direction. And yes, we have to make sure that we have Dr. Bywaters, Tamika Henry, and Eileen Eady on the board, because the others are there. And then they'll have their election cycle in another 2 years, because it's every 2 years and every 4 years. So that's just my sentiment. But I wanted to echo what Ms. Valerie had said and what Ms. Sarah had said, and Dr. Bywaters, like, I agree with you guys 1,000%. There's a lot of work to do.
Oh gosh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Tracy, can I hear you, Tracy? I think she froze. So I'm taking everything in my soul, y'all. My blood is boiling. And your girl is over here trying to stay in the running, because there's a whole conversation thread going on about me from somebody who has their panties in a bunch about the fact that I won the primary. And they are literally putting out this scenario that, why are you all supporting somebody who supports CRT over book banning, y'all? I'm sitting here like, I'm trying not to pay attention. I got a whole text saying, Kamilah, let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Because I haven't said nothing. It's like for weeks, this individual just going in, on, saying stuff. And people are like, really, you're making yourself look real dumb, like dumb. But this is what we are up against. People who really don't understand critical race theory. Like, why wouldn't I, as a Black person, support the evaluation of how racism is ingrained and endemic in our lives? What sense does that make? For me, when my ancestors, we came out of slavery, why wouldn't I support CRT? Hello, ding dong dong dong. But anywho, I'm letting that part go because I really could go in and all these things, and then I let me just, I'm gonna come clean. I did say one thing. I said one sentence, okay? As much as Twitter would let me say, because you know Twitter gives you some limits. So the words started getting read, so I had to like delete. And then I was told I was name calling. This is the stuff I'm talking about. People want to go hard on Facebook or Twitter, do their little Facebook advocacy, Facebook activism behind the screen, when clearly you didn't see me 2, 3, 4 times in person and never said anything. But the second somebody comes back and claps back, now I called you a name. But anywho, the point that I'm making is that we are really in a battle of ideologies. And if we get people on the board who have ideologies that don't consider all of our humanity, then we are in trouble. Could you imagine having someone on the board who doesn't respect the fact that you are an immigrant? Could you imagine that they're not going to support and think about your values? Could you imagine having somebody on the board who said that Black people don't need anything else in the world? We got it all. We are in the top because we got President Obama. That person's not going to care about your thoughts, your struggles, and your challenges enough to help you. Could you imagine having someone on the board who feels that your way of life is not how it should be? They're not going to care about your challenges and struggles. They're just not. So this is a battle of ideology. And then what's so interesting to me, y'all, let me tell you something. Do you know I had a Trumpster email, a Trumpster texted me and was like, hey girl, let me tell you, I like Lorena, but girl, you are way too smart, got too much experience for her to beat you. This was a Trumpster who was like, let me see something real quick. So what that's telling me is that there's people out here who do value intelligence and value me, huh? Oh, I have, and I'm not knocking. No, let me go back because people, oh, she's knocking people, blah, 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 blah. No, I'm not knocking anyone, but I have taken time to educate myself, to be educated about educational processes, to understand what's happening in society, to understand the educational landscape so that I can be an informed school board member. So that when you come to me with your challenges and your struggles, I'm already going to understand it because I know what the landscape of education is like. My opponent, if you have heard her talk about the role of the school board, she does not talk about the role of the school board. She has not said anything about the role of the school board. It's all her ideology and what she believes to be true. And it's a dictatorship type of mentality. My way or the highway, very conservative Christian, like, slaves, like literally what the Bible says is what the Bible says. Okay. Like that slaves obey your master type stuff.
That doesn't have any place in our schools, though. Like, if people want, that doesn't have any place in our schools. I mean, James Madison, if people are educated, actually wrote the Constitution that they wave around and are so proud of, the expatriates. And, he warned us about, in his writings when he was governor of Virginia, in his writings about the value of separation in church and state. And I think even more than that, I mean, you support CRT, I support CRT, but CRT isn't even in K through 12 in Clark County. So it's a dead issue. I mean, then that's where, in my opinion, we've been getting beat, is through the talking points, because what people are doing is they're instilling fear. Like when these Moms for Liberty people, they come out and they say they want to give everybody in kindergarten a book that talks about male genitalia and masturbation. Because I was approached by one of them, and I'm like, really? And I mean, I have a somebody, you know, I have a first grader. I don't want my first grader knowing anything about, you know, that kind of stuff. He's too young for that. But that's where, when you're not informed, it could really send parents into a tizzy. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like they're that's where they're beating us, is with the fear mongering and the lack of common sense, that it's just putting people to a position where they're like, oh, well, I don't want my 5-year-old or my 6-year-old sharing a bathroom with little girls. And that's what they're running on. And that's where, you know, we're trying to beat them with some high level education stuff, but they're not playing high level education. They're playing, you know, in the sandbox. And sometimes you have to get in the sandbox and play with them, because if not, you're going to miss your opportunity, because most people are not informed. So they just hear, you know, oh, my child's going to be raised thinking that white people are the problem. I mean, you know, I've never had a Black person tell, you know, tell me, you know, and my ancestors were pilgrims. I never had any Black person blame me for their problems in life. I mean, I'm not proud of what my ancestors did and how they colonialized America, but it's just what they did. I mean, you know, so I think that, you know, I did spend time on the Republican side before, you know, 2020 and the real rise of Trump and the Proud Boys and all this stuff. And they're just really, really scary people, really scary people. And, you know, a couple people on this call know what they did to me personally. They're very, very scary people, and we have to be on guard for them, because, you know, and they have a lot of power. They have power in the DA's office. They have power in our judicial system. They have a lot of power in this county, and we cannot allow them to get power on our school board.
Right. Miss Lee, how are you doing, Miss Lee? And then Rodney, if you want to chime in.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Okay, Rodney just froze, I think. Oh no, go ahead, Mr. Rodney, and then Valerie.
Actually, I just wanted to support what everybody has said. And I think that you are doing the right thing by not getting in the mud with whoever that is who posted whatever they posted. But what you can do when things like that happen is share it with us and then let us get in the mud if need be. That's why you have surrogates. That's why you have your supporters rough fighting for you while you take the high ground and be like Michelle Obama, and we'll just be on the ground. And that's the role that we play. So send the link out, give us a chance. And I think we should ask people about, you know, swapping bards with them, is hit them with the facts. There is no, Sarah said it well, there is no CRT in K through 12. And I would caution everyone to not be sucked into the CRT conversation, because that's a trigger for them and their ilk. So the simple statement is there is no CRT in K through 12, period. As a matter of fact, CRT is not even taught in every college. It's not even taught in every law school. It's a subclass of a subclass from critical legal theory, and then you have critical race theory. So only 6% of our colleges are law schools, right? And that's already a small number. And most of the law schools don't, well, probably more are doing it now, but most of them didn't do CRT. It's been a paper tiger / straw man argument all along, and they want to deflect everything with education into CRT. What we hit them back with is, why isn't history being taught on the Native Americans that contributed so much to those colonizers when they came? Why don't we talk more about the Mexican people who contributed to us? Not now. I'm talking about when we're a fledgling country. Let's talk about the role that African Americans have historically played. There's so much that we can talk about that's Black history. And remember, their history is taught in every class. There is not one single course that we take in American schools that do not teach white history. If you take math, they're teaching white history, European history. If you take English, guess what? You're learning European history. So maybe if we were learning more about other people, we would be able to empathize as well as sympathize with them more than isolating it and through omission trying to. They have projected for years about this erasure thing and the great replacement theory.
Mm-hmm.
We're the ones that have been erased. Look at the history books. We're the ones that they try to replace. So I say we speak the truth to them, we speak it boldly, but you let us take care of your light work.
Please, please do, because this white male said that he can tell everybody all the things that are wrong with Kamilah. And I'm just like, what? What? I'm like, Lord, you pray, Kamilah, pray. But this comes with the territory. I got to get myself ready. But I'm just like, the audacity. But anywho, I'm gonna let my people know. But Valerie, did you have something you wanted to say?
I just wanted to say that we have to let everybody know that our job is about making our children the winners. I went into a bank for $2 bills, and the teller was counting the money back to me. And she said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And she put down each $2 bill. That means she could not multiply by 2. We need to let people know they're going to be counting your money. They're going to be growing your food. They're going to be fixing your running your hospitals. They're going to be working in your restaurants. They need to know what they're doing. I got kids in high school that couldn't tape, couldn't glue, couldn't cut. They didn't know their measurements. They were in cosmetology and didn't know the difference between a centimeter and an inch. Culinary didn't know the difference between a teaspoon and a tablespoon. When I got finished with them measuring everything, they took that with them for life. That I didn't teach for the test. I taught for life. And we have to do that. And we have to make all of our children feel valuable. I wouldn't let them tell me I can't do it. I said, tell me I need help. If you tell me you need help, it's very hard for me as a teacher to walk away from that. We have to get dedicated teachers that don't mind putting the extra in that they need to put in, and we need to provide those workshops for them to learn how to do that. And when you catch them up to where they need to be, there's no stopping them. We have students in the Clark County School District who helped build one of the schools out in Henderson. We have to continue to do that and show them their worth. Teach them to solve problems with something other than a gun, a knife, or a punch in the nose.
Absolutely.
Conflict resolution, peer mediation. And we have to teach teachers to do that too. And if we learn the culture, we will understand their actions and we can work with better solutions. I know.
Absolutely.
I've been there.
Yep. Did anyone, we got to 7:16. We were having a really good conversation. We're excited because we won the primary, y'all. We came in first. Woo!
Woo!
She came in first, and I started off with the thank you, and then we got into the conversation. But I really want you to know, for every single person that donated, that phone bank, that door knock, that wrote letters, that told a friend, that did whatever you did to support my campaign, I am absolutely thankful for you. I don't even think you understand how just full my heart is, because we did it, community. We said we want a change, and we are doing it. Now, we still have work to do. We still have work to do to get to the general. We need to get people out to vote, and making sure that everyone's voice is heard. But I want you all to know that I am here for you. I am the candidate for you, the one to bring our voices back to the school board and to ensure that we really have a place of change. Listen, I am going to go to bat for our students and for our community, period. If there's any type of silliness, dumbness happen up there, and I know everybody's like, you got to stay professional. I'm going to stay professional. But let me say this, I will go to bat for our community, because as a person who's been in this fight with Tracy, and, you know, she's been in this fight with her mom for decades, y'all. Like, I respect the seat, the position, the role that much because of the hard work that we've done to get here. It is not by accident that we're in this moment. It's not by chance. At first, I was like, oh my gosh, there's 8 people up in this race. But you know what? Them 8 people helped us out, okay? Because we got number 1. Out of all of those people, we are number 1. And there's people out there who are mad, upset, sad about it. But guess what? I am the person for you. And I look forward to serving our community. Let's get out the vote. We're starting now. I'm meeting with my campaign manager. Big shout out to my campaign manager, Mark Peckham. Y'all better stop playing with Mark. Let me tell you what he did real quick. He had already strategized the whole race and said, this is what's going to happen. Had a strategy memo and everything. And exactly what he predicted, how the race was going to be, was exactly how it was. And that's exactly how we planned our steps. So big shout out to my campaign manager. You are the truth, and I look forward to meeting with you. Y'all, listen, y'all better rack up his number, but right now he's mine. He's mine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Sister Kamala, if you send me the information about said Caucasian European American that had anything to say to you, I'll take that on, because sometimes, you know, you just have to check your own, and I'll do it in a very nice way. But yeah, like Brother Rodney said, I mean, I got no problem getting in the weeds sometimes with people. So, you know, I mean, just send me the information and I'll reach out to him, hopefully privately, and we can quash it.
Okay, that sounds good. Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love my tribe. I love our community. I love our school district. I love everything about us. And I really do believe we are right there. We're at just a beautiful moment in history. And let me not forget to say this. This is a history moment times 2. This will be the first time that a Black woman has been in District E in the seat. And then this will also be the first time that we have that we could have 2 Black women at the same time on the board. So we're making double history. And this is really good for us, because listen and know that because of our experience as Black people, as Black women, we are going to take care of you. We will, because it's just our nature and who we are. And we have empathy for our community, and we love everyone. Contrary with some people, you know, some people think I'm only going to be working for some people like that. That makes no sense. That makes no sense at all. Like, I am here for everyone, and I look forward to working with you. Let's win this general, and let's have a big old party at the end. I don't know what we're going to be doing. I'm probably going to be out fainted somewhere because we did it. But thank you again for all of your support. My thank you letters are coming out, and my thank you phone calls are coming out. I have not forgotten about you. That's like a really important thing to me, to make sure that you get a letter, phone call. So those are coming out. And have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Tomorrow, I'm doing an interview with Joshua Peguero on News 8. in the morning. I'm not sure if it's going to be live, or I don't think it's going to be live because we're going to do it on Zoom. But that interview will be coming out. Make sure you go out. You're on a Google and you're looking for what my opponent is saying. Go and look for the videos of myself, what I'm saying about my objectives, who I am, and make sure that you do your research. Do your research, know how we're thinking. There's information out there, so go and do your research and make an informed decision. Make an informed decision. You know, I'm biased. I am your girl. I'm just gonna let you know I'm the one. But have a wonderful evening. General, did you want to say something? Sarah. All right.
I just want to say congratulations, Kamilah.
Thank
And
you,
I know
Valerie.
that every little bit helps because that's all I had was a little bit.
Thank you. Every little bit helps. So everyone have a wonderful
You're
evening.
welcome.
We'll see you next week. Thank you so much for all your support. I promise you, my heart is so full because we did this first part. Now we got to do the second. Have a wonderful evening. See you next week.